Greetings, dear friends. Today, in the Allat TV studio, we have the esteemed Igor Mikhailovich Danilov
Greetings.
and Jana.
Greetings.
The topic of today's video is climate apocalypse, illusion or reality. Of course, we didn't want to bring up this topic for a long time.
We really didn't want to. Basically, friends, after the January video, which we recorded this year, 2020, we thought that we would not return to the topic of climate at all. However, due to the development of certain events and changes in climate, we still decided to record such a short video today and tell you about the changes that are taking place, only because others keep quiet about them. But obviously, neither specialists nor, let's say, people who monitor the climate paid attention to this. Unfortunately, it's a serious problem, so we've decided to back off from our decision and talk a little bit about the climate change. Again, question, why did we not want to raise this topic anymore after the January video? Because questions of this kind will follow from you. The answer is very simple. Basically, only a lazy person is not talking about climate change today. Isn't that so? Everybody's talking about it, and a huge speculation began around this. Again, it all boils down to a struggle for climate, in quotes, so to speak. This is private capitalization. People simply started earning money on this topic, while the rest are kind of disinterested in this topic. Everybody talks, but nothing is being done. The only thing that is being done is an attempt to improve the environment, which is called a fight against climate, the fight against carbon dioxide emissions, ecology fees. They collect money, yet what are they actually doing? Although, recently I heard that someone was going to plant trees. This is already nice and good. Well, what's next? How will this stop the climate change that is already taking place? It won't in any way.
Right. After all, at the highest level, merely talks are going on actually.
At any level, merely talks are going on. And again, Tatiana has just said, at the highest level, talks are going on. Do you understand what the problem is? The problem is exactly that basically no one cares. And at the highest level, merely talks are going on, just the quotas are being divided. Who's allowed to emit more carbon dioxide and who is not? Again, there is air trading going on, in the literal sense of the word. As for carbon dioxide emissions, yes, this affects ecology. It is not very good. It is good when the air is clean, it is more pleasant. Tree felling is certainly a problem as well. Of course, trees have to be planted, we have to look after our house. Just imagine, if we do not clean our house, what will happen? A year or two, and we'll be mired in mud so much. This is not good. This is our home, the earth. Of course we have to clean it. But what does the climate have to do with it? This is ecology, my friends. While we have it all confused. We are told that global warming is cause of everything, and global warming is caused by excessive emission. Guys, this climate apocalypse, as Tatiana has said now, and everyone is already talking about, who is not talking about it? After all, it is not just warming. It's a mass of events that are happening today. And one of the symptoms of this disease is a temperature rise, like a person who fell ill with a serious and dangerous illness that leads to a lethal outcome. And one of the forms of its manifestations is a temperature rise, meaning the body resists. And the temperature rises, but it cannot cope with this disease. And we just reduced a person's fever. So what's next? Has he recovered because of that or what? No, of course not. Again, as of today, if we approach this honestly and face the truth, a temperature rise is also a protective mechanism that slightly restrains this complete collapse, which is now taking place in climate. Therefore, it is one of the compensatory forms. It's not bad, although it does lead to a certain change. We don't expand on this topic anymore because, excuse me, we heard enough from very smart people, from climate experts, couch climatologists, well, and many others. We heard such a thank you after the January video, after which, frankly speaking, we wanted to, among ourselves, we thought, well, if you don't want, why should we tell you what you don't want, right, our friends? But today we have decided to deviate from the rules, because the reason is really serious. We decided to tell you the good news. We have reached a new level in our game, climate apocalypse. It's true, we passed the first level of this game together as the whole civilization, and now we have reached the second level. To make it clear, we were supposed to win at the first level and not to move on to the second, but we moved to the second. Yet this game also has a third level. I understand that again we will be told a lot of interesting things about us. We don't mind, tell us friends, but at least think about what we are saying. After all, the first level was a very long process. The second level is very short in time, while the third level is a vertical fall, meaning it's a process of absolute destruction when we, together with you, cannot do anything. And if during the first level we had a lot of time, but instead of doing something, we, people, and I speak responsibly here, we are all to blame for this, everyone. Even if someone says, well, what do I have to do with this? I only planted trees or shrubs in my yard, planted flowers in a flower bed, and even trees. What difference does it make? What do I have to do with this? Again, I repeat, flowers in a flower bed, trees, all this is ecology, while we are talking about climate. And there were solutions, but they still exist. The question is not about solutions, the question is about our inaction. Now everyone will say, why should I act? Because your world is your home. Tell me, friends, I'll digress. From the thought I started, I'll just give a simple example. Your house is collapsing. In fact, you live with your family, or plan to start a family, or you already have grandchildren. What's the difference? This is your family, this is your home, that you want to leave as a legacy to your children. And it is collapsing. It is falling on your head, on the heads of your children, your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, whom you may not have seen yet and you don't know yet, or maybe you have already seen. Who knows? And you're lying on a couch and thinking that someone will come from somewhere and stop that. Instead of you, restore your house. He will come and repair it. This is your home, and it is falling on your head. Therefore, don't hope that someone will come, or someone superior, or some responsible people, those to whom we delegated our own power, will change something. They won't change. My friends, wake up. You live in a consumerist format. No one will do anything for you. Am I not right? I am right. Sorry for being so pessimistic. In no way did we take offense at those people who, so to say, well, didn't take that information quite adequately. Now I have a question for them. Look, now it's October 2020, and our video was released in January 2020. So, what, friends, were we wrong? I understand that now, because of the coronavirus, because of the pandemic, little information is received, and it is not quite adequate information. Why is the information not quite adequate? Because there is no system.
A system of monitoring.
Yes, a system of deep monitoring of climate change which was lost due to the pandemic. Why? Ships were withdrawn, planes did not fly. After all, there were a lot of observations and studies every day that flocked to one center, and all this was visible, it was available. But even what is now freely available, even what can be seen today, what happened, this is more than enough to draw appropriate conclusions. Or am I wrong? Or did we tell a lie somewhere? Well, we were told that we are not climate scientists. What right do we have to tell you? And again, some fellows began to tell us, let's say, accusing us of being a new religion. Guys, what we have here, Allat, is not a new religion. It is the basis on which all your religions are built. We do not impose anything on anyone, especially, some religious views. And we are not a sect obsessed with the apocalypse or with something else. We say absolutely objective things. Did we make a mistake in anything? A simple question. In what we said, everything is happening exactly as we told you a long time ago. Why? Because, guys, there is a science called mathematics, and everything is numbers here. If you can count, everything is very easy to calculate, right? Right.
Cyclical processes.
Yes, well, and a little bit of humor. Excuse me, let's smooth out such a pessimism of ours. We were also accused that we are a sect believing in aliens. My friends, we don't believe in aliens. Trust me. You can believe in what you don't know. You either believe or not. Tell me, who among you believes that the sun exists? That it rises in the morning, sets in the evening, and in general, that there is a sun. Only a fool believes in sun. Why? Because everyone else knows that it exists. Hence, we don't believe in aliens, right? Right. We don't have to do that. Well, a little bit of humor. Pardon me for such a... but this is true. And now let's get to the point. What is the purpose of our meeting today? And why we have decided to talk to our friends about climate again? What is this new level, which we haven't heard anything about until today for some reason, although climatologists are supposed to be exactly the first ones to raise the alarm in this regard? We were silent for half a year. We couldn't stand it any longer. We're sorry for having little patience.
Yes, as of today, there is certainly nothing to congratulate all of us upon because we as humanity...
Why nothing? After all, we were doing our best. We were inactive. We were reveling in our consumerist order. Well, you say there's nothing to congratulate upon. Guys, do you know what the difference between a consumer society and a creative society is? Already, for half a year, we've been talking about a creative society. And to this day, nobody knows what the creative and consumer society are, and few people can distinguish between them. Guys, I'll put it simply. Just to make it clear to everyone, what is the consumerist format of modern society? It is when everything humane is declared only on paper, while in reality, everything is done so that animal instincts dominate over all our humane qualities. After all, today, no one already argues that a human is dual. On the one hand, he is a spiritual being, like clergymen say, and he has an angelic nature. But on the other hand, a human is a beast. This was mentioned by all the prophets of your religions. And even scientists talk about it today, even, excuse me, the most learned people who have relation to science, which studies the soul, even they talk about it, no matter how strange this is, right? Right, the greatest scientists of the present-day world, who know everything. Even they know that human is dual. But they don't know one thing. It is necessary to be a human, first of all. And this is what's most important. And in order for everything humane to flourish in our society, it is necessary to do something. To do something, first and foremost, with ourselves. To restrain our beastly nature, not to let this quality manifest itself at all. And to stimulate our human qualities. Love, respect for each other, to endeavor to do something. It is necessary to live for people, then people will live for you. This is really so. And it's important, I'll go back to the creative society, that the purpose of the creative society is first of all to ensure at the legislative level that all beastly qualities in people cannot be manifested anywhere, neither in a little group, nor in a society as a whole. Thus, the 8 foundations of the creative society are sort of a guarantee that all human qualities in a person, all his angelic qualities, will be developed, and they should dominate over the beastly nature, but not as we have now. That's the main difference. And as of today, we are not saying that if we unite all together, climate will change. No, guys. Recall what we were talking about. We were talking about the fact that our unification, and no matter how hard we try, we will no longer be able to change what will happen, but we will be able to survive. This is true, isn't that so? Only together. But it's impossible to unite on the position of the consumerist format. Why? For instance, today there are plenty of examples. Far-sighted people, so to say. There are groups and civil associations that look ahead and do it reasonably, and we should give them their due. They do a great job in this respect. And even at some governmental levels, people also see it all. So what do they begin to do? To arm themselves and get prepared. They start building certain, so to say, communes that will provide serious, well-prepared resistance due to the climate change which is soon to come. Meaning they get ready to take away last possessions from somebody, a fight for life. Such, let's say, just like in the movies, where it is shown what will happen after the apocalypse. And this is classic. And this stereotypical classic has stuck in people's heads. So imagine, people have started to prepare, and this is really so, not to prepare to resist, all this from the human perspective, by uniting everyone in the world. And here's a question. What will unification give us? Some people asked, well, I have united with my neighbor, what will that give me? Will climate change or what? No, my friends. Climate won't change. It's already too late. We've lost the first round. We are already in the second one. At the next stage of this game. Therefore, climate will not change anymore. Will it be worse? It surely will. But we will be able to survive together. Why? I'll just explain to you, may I? Here's the most banal and simple explanation. As of today, imagine, even optimistic scientists tell us that in 50 years, 3.5 billion people will be forced to migrate. Why am I saying that they are optimistic? God grant, with tendency that is taking place in present day, climate change in its progression, God grant that we reach the year 2036. Calmly. I emphasize. Why? This is again maths, guys. While they say in the year 2017, 50 more years.
Taking into account that now only hundreds of millions of people are exposed to migration and what difficulties are associated with that, we are being told about 3.5 billion.
Imagine a half of the population has to move. Let's take even their scenario, meaning half of the globe has to migrate. And you shouldn't think that somebody will move to you, and it's necessary to arm yourself in order to keep them off your house and preserve your property. Why do you think, my friends, that you won't have to go in a well-armed company to somebody's home in order to take away theirs? And why do you think that they are so simple, unarmed and disorganized? And what will that give us? A simple question. Why? Because the lack of resources, impossibility to redistribute all this properly, banal greed, egoism and pridefulness. This is what predominates in our beastly world today. Why beastly? Because it is consumerist. After all, everything humane is destroyed in our world, while everything, pardon me, beastly is promoted. Isn't that so? It is. If we face the truth, lies and deception are everywhere. The main purpose is earnings, or something else. Nobody says that earning is bad. It is surely good, but it is necessary to think of something greater. Because soon the times will come when, as it was said in the past, the alive will envy the dead. Why? Because money will be devalued, neither gold nor diamonds will cost anything. Imagine you're amidst a scorching desert, dying of thirst, but you are dragging a bag with gold or with money, whatever you like more. From whom will you buy anything? Amidst the desert, and who will sell anything to you? Isn't that true?
As of today, there are already examples of this kind.
Sure.
In India, people who live near gold mines say that they are ready to lend gold, but not water. I mean, the problem is already acute in various regions.
Of course.
Yes, moreover, for instance, at the Davos Forum several years ago, leading economists came to the conclusion that fresh water is much more valuable than oil.
But this is really so already. And don't we see that, friends? Indeed, what is happening today indicates that it is necessary to unite precisely because material value should not be dominant. After all, the first of the 8 foundations of the creative society says that human life is priceless. The greatest value is human life. And in such a society there is more than enough of everything. Why? This doesn't mean that there won't be money or something else. Yes, there should be some exchange, currency or unit for redistributing those very benefits, because there should be a market and there should be everything. This is natural, however, when everything belongs to humanity and not to separate individuals. That's when it is. I understand, people will now say, we're talking about some communism, right? My friends, I apologize for digressing, but it's your thoughts that stop my speech. That we are talking about the creative society as a utopia, right? We are talking about what was already built, and communism is often given as an example. Guys, communism is a prototype of the ideal society. This is what was told to us. And when revolutions were made and people were fooled with the idea that we would build communism, but there had to be a transition period. And what had to be built? Socialism, as a forerunner of communism. What did that very socialism imply? The power and sovereignty of the people. However, those who came to power couldn't give away the power which they had taken. They had taken it from our grandfathers and great-grandfathers. They couldn't give it away, couldn't part with it. Do you know why? A simple example. You know, it's quite funny. In 1917, the revolution took place, and in 1919, they already started building spas and resorts for themselves. A luxurious life. The same thing they're fighting for now. Look, people go to elections and spend a lot of money. For what? Because they love you so much. Isn't it so? And this is true. So in a creative society, no one can have power except people. And people should be responsible for their own decisions. Isn't that so? It is. No one should be higher and no one should be lower. This is done very easily. And you know what is interesting? That indeed, the idea of the creative society is quickly spreading all over the world. We thank those who understand and support it. We did our best, not in vain. A lot of people take this up. Interestingly, even politicians take this up. Most of all, Western politicians take this up, and of a rather high authority. But the only point is that they say, in order for us to rise and start speaking from high rostrums, we need electoral support. Otherwise, how do you imagine that? We can understand them. Basically, nobody holds their tongues, but again, they have group agreements, they have party agreements, and so on. But when people want, and there is an electoral demand, then politicians can speak about this openly. So friends, here's a simple advice to you from politicians. If we provide a demand, they will have to follow it. So we're going back, pardon me, I'll go back to climate. Why? In the creative society, will all of us be able to survive, or almost all? At least we will preserve our civilization, and we will preserve the future for our children and grandchildren, because all resources belong to people. And when our goal is to survive, meanwhile we have everything, all resources and all opportunities, we will be able to build in the most promising locations, let's say, those very cities for everyone, where we will have enough space for all. We will be able to create conditions under which, by using modern technologies, it is possible to grow food products on a small plot of land, let's say in vertical buildings and the like. This is practiced now, and no one will die of hunger. Plus, we will be able to develop science when it will be possible to make food products, useful and delicious ones. It will be possible to print them on a 3D printer. This isn't difficult, and all this is possible, and everything will only be healthy, and everything will be only for people. Thus, we will be able to survive those changes that are coming. Why? Guys, I don't want to raise the issue again. January has taught us that we need to talk less. However, there are certain conditions under which, actually, the unification of people in a creative mindset can really eliminate a lot of things, and we will be able to prevent rather big troubles. We can remove them, and they won't happen. But everything depends on us. Again, excuse me, this is not a prediction. This is not divination, this is science, friends. Believe me, this is science. But everything depends on us. We won't be able to stop what is coming, but we can mitigate and alleviate it, and from this new level of ours, we will be able to gradually return to the first level, adjust our life, and live as before, but only in the creative society, if through the consumerist format. Good luck. If you want it to be this way, that's the only thing we can say. Now let us talk about the essence of our meeting. What is this new level that is kept silent about? Perhaps even no one has paid attention to it. After all, pardon me, those very climatologists who must be responsible to people, and again, responsible to people, they shouldn't report somewhere to someone who will allegedly do for us something later. They won't. Climatologists must tell people about that. In such cases, I believe, there has to be absolute openness and notification of people, of the real events. This is extremely important. Why? I'll go back to your house, friends, where you live with your family. If experts have come and seen that the foundation is slanted, that the walls will soon fall and press you down with your own ceiling, but they have been silent and left to report to the housing and communal officer chief, or I don't know, who else, the city mayor, or the president of your country, that there is a problem in your house. You know, the first one, the second one, and the third one don't care a bit about your house. But you and your family do care. Therefore, those experts who came and saw the house bear tremendous responsibility before your children and grandchildren, because they must warn you, first of all, so that you take your family and run as far as possible until you get buried. Or am I not right? Yet this is only my opinion, friends. I'm not imposing it on anyone, but I believe it has to be this way. So, what's the point of our meeting today? What is the second level in this game all about? A question may arise, why do we call it the apocalypse game? In this apocalypse game, let's say there is a new level, and so on, which we as humanity are entering, and why is it a game? Everything is very simple, because most of us treat life as a game. This is really so. People play with their lives and play with the lives of other people. You shouldn't play, you should live. Life is given once. We can play football, volleyball, or computer games, never mind, but not life, and all the more not someone else's life, and even one's own life should not be played with. It is life.
Right. One shouldn't play neither life, not with life.
One shouldn't play with life at all. Life should be lived. Life is given exactly in order to live and not to play. In a game, someone always wins and someone always loses. But in the game of life, everyone loses. It's impossible to win, because both a win and a loss in the game of life lead to death. Only the one who liberated himself gains life.
Right, so humanity has now entered a new level in the apocalypse game. And we are not ready for it, unfortunately. Firstly, this level is different because if previously even scientists or people divided into skeptics, catastrophists and gradualists who thought that events would develop smoothly, now there are fewer skeptics whatsoever. I would even say that.
And soon, my friends, when we pass this second level and enter the third one, not a single skeptic will remain on earth, believe me. But we won't be able to do anything anymore.
Moreover, those very gradualists already begin to worry because smoothness has disappeared somewhere and impetuous, destructive cascade changes have started. Indeed, as of today, we are already at such a new level, at the new stage of a climatic cataclysm.
So what is its point?
We've noticed that over the last year, synchronization has begun.
And the most important point, friends, is synchronization
Natural
of cataclysms.
cataclysms all over the world. Now they're already happening not as isolated events, but a wave of climatic events is going on. And in addition to everything,
This is the new level, friends. It is much more destructive. And do you know what the trouble of this level is? It increases progression. And here, in order to make it clear, why we worry so much, why we talk about this, why we are concerned about it, not you are concerned, but we are concerned so far, because we act, we speak, we share. We want to build a creative society, we just want to save people a little bit. I'll tell you simply, in order for those not to rack their brains who try to explain what kind of a vague organization Allatra is, nobody finances it, but it is growing. They predicted to us a long time ago that we would collapse because we are a new religion or something else. Unclear and inexplicable while we are growing, and we are growing very fast. Yet why is this happening? And what's the point? Well, friends, Allatra is growing because there are a lot of good, honest, and intelligent people who are truly free internally, who are free from these monkey patterns in their heads. When there is a chief monkey that distributes bananas and tells you what food you should jump on, there are a lot of spiritually free people, and they are uniting, and they understand perfectly well that all these changes that are happening, they, let's say, have a certain regularity and have nothing to do with greenhouse effects, CO2 emissions, or something else. That it is cyclicity, which was described a very long time ago. Those who want, and those who indeed have a little bit of brain, pardon me, but this is true. Those people apply a little bit of effort and look up what was described long ago and what was warned about. Those who studied math at school at least a little bit and know how to calculate, they observe and calculate, and everything becomes clear. Everything is very, very simple. And those same people, so to say, help us collect more profound information and see in reality everything that is happening today. So we would like to show you a video that is actually composed of publicly available information, that which is disseminated by mass media, what eyewitnesses experienced, and so on. This is publicly available information merely over the last 10 years, and I'll ask you to pay attention to the curve of how changes have occurred, especially in the year 2020, how progression has increased. Now, given this situation, and again, this is due first and foremost to synchronization, because we've started talking about it. This is extremely important, when not one occasional event takes place, but a whole cascade of events, when one triggers another. And this interconnection intensifies the destruction of our planet. It ruins the walls of our house and increases the chance for the ceiling to fall on our heads. This is to make it clear. So as not to philosophize, let us show this video, but we emphasize, we didn't use information in it, which we know. Why? Well, let's say, for it to be more convincing. For you to understand, this is solely what you can verify. Not to trust us, but go ahead and verify on your own. So we have collected information from public sources, solely from them. However, if we included what we also know, that would be already a real manipulation from our side. We don't set ourselves a task to frighten you, friends. Not at all. We set ourselves a task to inform you. And we are telling you that it is possible to act one way or another. It is possible to try now. Fighting with ecology is good, it is wonderful, but let us build a creative society and let us try to survive all together. This is what we are talking about. Whereas you have the right to listen to us or not, to believe or not to believe. But if you want to know, instead of believing or not believing, then apply a little bit of effort, and you will know. And then the ceiling will not fall on your head. So, let's watch the video. So, my friends, I hope that this video showed you everything objectively, and you were able to see for yourselves what is really happening, and you saw for yourselves how the issue of synchronization accelerated the progress. Imagine what will happen next. We are told that we still have 50 years ahead of us, and only then 3.5 billion will be forced, perhaps, to migrate. And I have a simple question. In 50 years, will there remain at least 3.5 million, not billion? Will we be able to survive so that our humanity can be revived at least a little? Even if it remains and survives, guys, it's wonderful, it's great. This means that humanity will not disappear. Tell me, does it make it easier for you and your grandchildren? What makes you think that they will be among those 3.5 million? A simple question, even if they survive, but if they survive in 50 years, it means that we are wrong somewhere in our calculations. I mean 3.5 million. So we are making a mistake somewhere, and this, believe me, is wonderful. It would just be great if we made a mistake. But unfortunately, we count too well, because there is something to count. Well, let's get away from the sad and
To the fact that we need to do something already, that really,
we talked about this a lot.
it's just really clear that we don't need to change the climate as we're taught, but it's really time to take some adaptation measures.
But change the patterns, and it's better to get rid of these patterns in your heads, guys. And you need to grow up and not rely on someone, but start doing something yourselves. This is your home. Don't wait for your neighbor to come and do something. He won't come and do it because the house is yours.
To confirm your words, there is already information that the British military men expect warming by 3.5 degrees, which will cause a disastrous shortage in resources. Therefore, they want to increase funding for the army to prepare for these events. This is what you described when they are saving their lives.
This is almost inevitable, in fact. I mean, if humanity gets into... Again, I emphasize, humanity brought up in a consumerist format. If a consumerist format dominates over us and in us, we will behave like animals. This is really so. There are plenty of examples of that.
Yes, indeed. They call for establishing the military hegemony of Britain in the Arctic in order to...
Resources.
Yes.
Domination.
Yes, domination.
Over certain resources that will be released due to warming. This is clear. And let's say many people are greedily looking at that region, but they don't understand what will happen in general. After all, warming is merely one symptom. But the thing is that everything will collapse, and I will tell you more. We will have a very big problem. It will start and proceed very fast, with space radiation. Why? Because let's say the protective electromagnetic field of the Earth is weakening. Hence, we will face a huge problem with our atmosphere. Moreover, seismic activity will increase, and we are observing this trend. A flood will already be later. This is inevitable. By the way, there is a very interesting observation regarding the flood. Now we see that a serious problem with water begins. In some places it is rising, while in other places it is decreasing.
In huge amounts which people cannot cope with, and where it is decreasing, there is already a disastrous shortage
Of course.
of resources. That is not...
Of course, and here's another phenomenon that has been observed lately for the last decade. We didn't demonstrate it in the video. Well, you've seen the video, it is about something different. But the phenomenon is very serious, which they try to justify in every possible way. That our globe began to increase in size. And there are various attempts to explain this. They say that the axis is changing a little bit, and the elliptic shape of our planet is sort of shifting, and it is becoming a sphere. Guys, we also studied at school for a while, we understand, so there is an ellipse. If it becomes a sphere, it means that the upper and the lower points should get closer. The question is, why do the upper and the lower points not get closer? But excuse me, the ellipse expands at the equator. Such a small point, just to ponder about the processes that take place inside our planet. And these processes tend to go outside and we observe it. In a very short period when we had an average earthquake of 2.53 points, 3, it is mainly 2.5. What is the average magnitude according to observations today? It is about 5.5, right?
5.5, already 6. It is growing. It's often 6 already.
Well, 6. It already reaches up to 6, yes. So look, a very short period of time, and progression is huge. Therefore, global warming is not the worst thing. The fact that it gets warmer on a certain part of the land, let's say, it will be impossible to live on it, while the other part will be more favorable for living. Still, everything repeats itself, and it all took place. Only it ends badly for everyone who, let's put it so, cannot breathe underwater. So we have two options left. Either to grow gills or to build a creative society. It's up to you, my friends. Everyone chooses what they like.
It's just how dishonestly they treat us at the highest level.
Again, at the highest
They
level.
tell people that they should ride bicycles or something else, while at this moment they themselves are preparing for other things and more serious ones.
Is this really news? When did they do things differently? A simple question. Because they take care of themselves. Whom will that very army protect?
The authorities.
People.
From whom?
The army will come out and begin to protect every Englishman, so that he would be fed, so that there would be enough water for him, so that he would be in good climatic conditions. Well, first of all, England is one of the first countries that will disappear. They'll have to migrate somewhere. So they have to do what? To conquer a territory for every Englishman, or, excuse me, for a small bunch of people who have been ruling that very England over the past many years. A simple question, who will they take care of?
About the authorities, about those who are currently preparing them, and of course about themselves first of all.
Isn't it so? And the paradox is that those very soldiers will abandon their families, who will be dying, but will save those who control them. Guys, it is true. Have we not been through this in human life? Throughout our history, look carefully. Just look back. It doesn't matter what events, but that is what happened. Let's look at these riots that are currently taking place in the United States. Who is being saved and what is being protected? A simple question. Who will they take care of? Are they really saving, excuse me, from this crowd that goes and destroys everything? It's like termites, you know, it's like they fight for their rights. It's great that they fight for their rights, but why destroy what belongs to the same people like you? So why rob and pillage and the like? Is it the right thing to do? In my opinion, it is wrong. When you stand up for what is good, when you stand up for the law, when you stand up for freedom, why do you infringe on and take away from others? After all, we do observe this, don't we? It's true, friends.
The principle of might makes right.
Of course, but the funny thing is, whom does authority protect? Whom does it protect, excuse me? Ordinary stores, people who keep these stores, who protect other people's cars. Cars of ordinary people? No, they protect the districts where those who control them live. Isn't that so? And the rest are left to their own devices. That's the truth of life. They say people do not change, people do change, and they change very easily and very quickly, if they want this. There are two ways, excuse me, either the human way or the beastly way. There is no other, there can be no third one. Well, when we live in a consumerist format, we find an excuse. We justify, how can it be otherwise, and the like. Guys, after all, we are not pigs, and we are not apes to live by these laws. We are human beings. We should live by human laws, precisely those laws that restrain everything beastly in us. Why did I make a joke today about psychologists? Because certain sages from this profession, I treat this profession with great respect. There are many good experts who really help people. But you know, strange folks may be found everywhere. So, along the lines of these strange people who said that one shouldn't keep evil in oneself. When aggression arises in you, it must be spilled out, otherwise it will destroy you. Guys, You cannot restrain an animal in yourself. It must manifest itself. That's what our entire consumerist format is built on. Yet maybe it is necessary to create conditions for our animal to be on a short leash and not to bark. If it has breached the law, it must work hard and for a long time for the benefit of society. Maybe we should act like that, huh? After all, we are people, we're not beasts. Well, they tell us, try to tell us and explain that it is normal. It's normal to be emotional, it's normal to humiliate, insult, kill, and beat up other people. It is normal. It's normal to take away what belongs to others. Guys, maybe it's not normal. Maybe this is how beasts behave. Well, we are human beings. Maybe we should do something different. Or am I wrong? Well, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong.
Even referring to psychology, to these experiments, to cognitive distortions, it turns out that people are used to that. It is more comfortable for them to live like that. They don't want to change the status quo, they don't want to face any new events and conditions.
Of course.
It's more important for them to keep it the way it is because consciousness got used to value what it has. This already belongs to it, whereas what it's sort of, maybe this will befall, maybe it will be, or maybe not, that very not. What if it won't be?
What if it won't be, right? But I will lose what I can and have today.
Yes, and what?
Even if it doesn't quite satisfy me and it isn't quite comfortable, but it is mine. That's what they are fighting for.
Meaning, in this example, it is quite obvious that there is indeed only one way out, when people themselves will unite.
If they will want that, nothing else will work
That
out.
only people themselves can become a catalyst for these changes.
Nobody will come, nobody will do anything. People shouldn't rely either on authorities or on anyone else. It all depends on people. This is their home. If they don't take care of it, they will lose their home. The ceiling will fall down because the walls are collapsing. This synchronization shows that not only the floor is wobbling and cracking, but the walls are already collapsing. This is, for simple understanding, for an average person. Since the walls are collapsing and when they collapse a bit more, and this period is very short, then the third period will come in this game. And the third level of this game, when I said vertical fall, is when, let's say, the ceiling falls down on you. It's a very short period of time. But it is also inevitable. After all, everything should follow in the right order. In this world, everything is set in accordance with a certain order. And everything is numbers, and everything can be calculated mathematically. Unfortunately, but it is so.
How important it is to consolidate and unite together, because today there is no idea in the world except for Allatra that would unite people all together on these spiritual and moral values.
At any rate, there is no such organization as Allatra, in fact. Why? Because Allatra is an association of free people. It is really an association of volunteers that is not funded by anyone. And since no one is funding it, it means that no one is promoting one's own ideas. After all, why hide the truth? There are many organizations that defend someone's, pardon me, consumerist interests, whereas Allatra is an association of free people, of volunteers who really care about their spiritual development, care about humanity as a whole, and care first of all about that very human essence which should predominate in a person. And it is wonderful that there are really many such people, and every day there are more and more of them. Guys, this speaks to the fact that not everything is lost for us. And in fact, every person is, first of all, a human being. But due to certain circumstances, due to informational load and stereotypes, beastly patterns dominate over us. It is just an illusion of our consciousness. Why did Tatiana say at the beginning of our conversation today, what is it? An illusion or reality? We have too many illusions in our heads which we perceive as reality, and this is so. And we were reproached by some that we, as a neo-religion, urge people not to believe their consciousness. Guys, we never said not to believe consciousness. We said not to trust what your consciousness palms off onto you and to control it. In the first place, didn't we? After all, what consciousness is doing to us, guys, is sheer illusions to such an extent. If it didn't hear something right, it'll draw something extra. If it didn't see something right, it'll fantasize it. When it twists simple, trivial things to the utmost, as long as it pleases consciousness, not us, but the beast.
I'd like to talk about this too. Why people with strong beliefs, even when they are faced with undeniable facts, do not wish to change their position. Because the same thing happens with the subject of climate.
Indeed, why? A simple question. Why does a person, when he understands that he is wrong, but he still continues to defend his position, consciously being aware that is unwinnable? Indeed, why?
Because he's afraid to lose
What?
his position in this hierarchy, so to speak.
What kind of hierarchy?
Because the strong one is right.
And note, Tatiana has just said the most important thing. That very hierarchy and the strong one is right, or more precisely, the one who is strong is right.
Right.
After all, what prevails in our consumer society? Power. And that's all. Not truth, not honor, not conscience, not love, but power. That's the answer. And what are they afraid to lose?
Their positions.
Their status, their alleged status.
Yes, their authority and leadership.
They will lose it. When the ceiling falls, everyone will lose everything. Everything is very simple.
In their own head at that. Because oftentimes, before other people...
Because this is in the head. Nobody cares about anything in the consumerist format, because all are egoists. Excuse me, does anyone care about the pridefulness of even the most powerful people of this world? No, they don't. Why not? Because everyone in their consciousness is on familiar terms with these people. Well, who among people did not talk to their leaders and idols, simply with overfamiliarity, and did not give them advice in their heads? Because all this is put into the consciousness of each of you stereotypically, and only question is by whom? Is it the natural work of our brain, my friends? The natural work of our brain must be a struggle for survival, not for domination, but a struggle for life prolongation. You see? For salvation. That's the instinct which should be predominant in everyone, while in us, look. For example, a dog, or even a little rat, or a snake, it feels an earthquake. It feels a tsunami or some other destruction, and it goes away, while a human stays. Why?
Where is the instinct of self-preservation?
Yes.
Where is the instinct of self-preservation? Fires, there are many of them now. People have suffered severely. Fires are approaching. 200 meters already remains. Rescuers are taking a person, telling him, let's go. But he cannot part with his house. He says, I'll stay and guard it. With what? And people die. Why do they die? Because they cannot part with their material valuables, because they are more precious to them than their own life. Yet why does this happen? Because human life has no meaning. And here we proceed to the key point. In a consumerist format of existence, a person's life is absolutely meaningless. Why? Because there is only hell ahead of him, as religions say. The format itself forces a human to be a beast, while beasts, pardon me, do not enter heaven. This happens only in some fairy tales from certain trends and various religious branches where they say that there will be heaven in which, let's say, a lion and a hare will sit together and a human is near, stroking these animals and they don't touch him. Such a wonderful heaven. Everything is marvelous, but there is no place for beasts in heaven. That's why they are exactly beasts. So it turns out that we build that order in which, excuse me, stupidity predominates among us. You cannot call it otherwise.
A person doesn't understand why he lives, does he? What is
constant negation?
And what's the point in life if we form death for ourselves? If a human doesn't understand what he is actually for on this planet as a human, as a being, why this life is given to him at all, and he clings to material values, forgetting about his spiritual values, then the one who takes care of dust will become dust. Why say otherwise? After all, what can be more valuable than human life? Nothing. The most valuable thing is human life, because it gives a person an opportunity to gain much more.
Yes, this is really so. You have also said that people are helpless in front of cataclysms, in front of what has already happened. There is such an example about train helplessness. There is an interesting fact regarding elephant training. Some people already know it, that elephants are habituated to a rope since childhood. First, They are tied to a tree, and an elephant calf, trying to escape, understands that the rope is many times stronger than him. Then, already being a grown-up elephant, he no longer even makes attempts to become free, because he understands that the rope, which is stronger than him, will win anyway. And when already a human who, well, the strength of a human and an elephant is incomparable, but an elephant still submits to a human and follows him with his head down, is the same in human society.
The whole point, imagine, an ordinary human, skinny and little, is leading an elephant on a rope. Why? Because the elephant believes that the rope is holding him. Friends, we have the same thing. Nothing is holding us, except our imaginary rope. And I would simply like to say, friends, let us stop being stupid elephants, and let's become humans. Let us begin to throw off these ropes and get rid of patterns. And let's begin, at least, to respect each other. We wanted to tell you many things. I know that the girls were preparing. However, guys, this topic is not interesting to me. I'm sorry. This is true, it's not interesting. It is interesting to talk when something is happening, when something is changing. But we had to warn you. Why? Because nobody pays attention to this. It's a pity. Because this makes it possible to understand many things, and many things could have been omitted. But we've said them, whether they will hear or not. Guys, we have done our part. We have said, and our conscience is clear. Believe me, we have washed our hands of this. Therefore, purely from the heart, let's love each other and still try to be humans. Thank you for being with us.